Welcome, welcome, welcome to episode 102 of the show with no name. I'm your humble host, Nick, and today we're going to be exploring this beautiful old cemetery out here on the island. This cemetery goes by the name of the Cementerio Puerto Real, but it's also known as the San Miguel Archangel Cemetery, out here in Puerto Real, Cabo Rojo, Puerto Rico. Let's get into this. I'm going to start this episode off today just kind of showcasing some of the pieces of artwork that really caught my attention in this cemetery as I was walking around filming it. And if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you'll know that this statue specifically is of special importance to me, and I've probably spent more time thinking about this statue than any other statue out here in these cemeteries. I just believe there's so much meaning behind this statue, a lot more than meets the eye. And if any of you viewers out there have any thoughts, ideas, or opinions on this specific statue, I would definitely like to hear them in the comments below. This was a pretty enormous cemetery, and it was just chock full of amazing statues like this one that we're looking at right now. And they were just everywhere. This is episode 1 of a 3-episode series I'll be doing on this cemetery. So there's plenty more unique pieces of artwork that I will be showing. As you know as well, I've always liked these child angel graves. I like it when people put a lot of work into them, like this one here. And this might be my favorite piece in the whole cemetery. I thought this flower holder was just incredible and naturally antiqued. And what an amazing piece of art we're looking at right here. Like I was saying earlier, this was a huge cemetery. That's why I had to divide it up into 3 different episodes. This part that we're looking at right here is just the small part of the cemetery in the back. But nonetheless, they were chock full of amazing pieces of artwork like this. I just love it with the nature in the background. And as you can see, these cemeteries are just growing and growing and growing and having to further expand even into the grass out on the outskirts of the concrete. And of course, you have your everyday friendly iguanas that love to venture around with me in these cemeteries as well. Right now, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about a man who went by the name of Roberto Confresi, and he was born on June 17, 1971, in Cabo Rojo. He was better known as El Pirata Confresi. He was a pirate from Puerto Rico. He was born into a noble family, but the political and economic difficulties faced by the island as a colony of the Spanish Empire during the Latin American Wars of Independence meant that his household was poor. Roberto would work at sea from an early age, which familiarized him with the region's geography, but it only provided him a modest salary, and he eventually decided to abandon the sailor's life to become a pirate. At the height of his career, Confresi evaded capture by vessels from Spain, Colombia, and the United Kingdom, Denmark, France, and even the United States. He commanded several small draft vessels, best known was a fast 6-gun sloop named Anne, and he had a preference for speed and maneuverability over firepower. He would man his ships with small rotating crews, which most historical documents number at 10 to 20 men. He preferred to outrun his pursuers. Most of his crew members were recruited locally, although men occasionally joined from Central America and Europe. Cafrezi proved to be too much for local authorities, who had to end up accepting international help to catch the pirate. Spain created an alliance with the West Indies Squadron and the Danish government of St. Thomas. On March 5, 1825, the alliance set a trap, which forced Anne into a naval battle. After approximately 45 minutes, Roberto Cafrezi abandoned his ship and escaped overland. He was recognized by a resident who ambushed and injured him. Roberto was captured and imprisoned. The pirates were then sent to San Juan, Puerto Rico, where a brief military tribunal found them guilty and sentenced them to death. On March 29, 1825, Cafrezi and most of his crew were executed by firing squad. According to several of the pirates' death certificates, they were buried on the shore next to the Santa Maria Magdalena de Pazzi Cemetery by Old San Juan. Roberto and his crewmen were buried behind the cemetery on what is now a lush green hill overlooking the cemetery wall. Contrary to popular belief or local lore, they were not buried in the old San Juan Cemetery because their execution as criminals made them ineligible for burial in the Catholic cemetery. He inspired stories and myths long after his death, most emphasizing a Robin Hood-like steal from the rich and give to the poor philosophy, which became associated with him over time. This portrayal has grown into legend. Historical and mythical accounts of his life have inspired songs, poems, plays, books, and films. I've been waiting to do this episode of the Puerto Real Cemetery, specifically to cover this man right here. He was a very special guy. He was actually a Medal of Honor recipient, and he fought in the Korean War. Demencio Rivera was born on April 28, 1932. He was a United States Army veteran who was awarded this Distinguished Service Cross. The award was upgraded in 2014, decades after his death, to the Medal of Honor. He was the youngest of 5 children, born in Cabo Rojo, Puerto Rico. He was still a child when his parents moved to New York City, where he was raised. On September 26, 1950, Rivera joined the United States Army in New York. In 1951, he was deployed to the Republic of Korea as a member of Company G, 2nd Battalion, 7th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division. He was part of the United Nations May to June counteroffensive, which was a military operation performed by the United Nations Command during the Korean War, launched in response to the Chinese Spring Offensive, which took place between the months of April and May of the same year. During the counteroffensive, his unit was attacked by the enemy. He delivered continuous and devastating fire at them with his automatic rifle until his weapon became inoperable. He employed his pistol and grenades and stopped the enemy within a few feet of his position. Rivera was seriously wounded, and he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the Army's second highest military decoration. Rivera was residing in New York City, where he died on March 16, 1964. His body would be transferred to Puerto Rico, where he was buried in Cabo Rojo. Rivera was awarded the Medal of Honor by President Barack Obama in a March 18, 2014 White House ceremony, approximately 50 years after his death. Rivera was one of 9 Puerto Ricans to receive the Medal of Honor. His Medal of Honor citation went like this, and I quote, "Private Demencio Rivera distinguished himself by acts of gallantry above and beyond the call of duty while serving as an automatic rifleman with the 2nd Platoon, Company G, 7th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division during combat operations against an armed enemy in Korea on May 23, 1951. Early that morning, a large hostile force emerged from a dense fog and viciously attacked Private Rivera and his comrades. Private Rivera immediately responded by firing with deadly accuracy until his weapon jammed. Without hesitating, he threw his rifle down and began to engage the enemy with his pistol and grenades. At one point, Private Rivera fearlessly crawled from his emplacement to engage an infiltrating enemy soldier in fierce hand-to-hand combat. With only the sounds of footsteps and obscure shadows to guide his aim, Private Rivera held his position against tremendous odds, inflicting numerous casualties on the enemy until he found himself without ammunition of any kind except one grenade. Displaying a fearless fighting spirit and an utterly selfless devotion to duty, Private Rivera pulled the pin from his last grenade and calmly waited for the enemy to reach his position. As enemy troops leaped inside his bunker, Private Rivera activated the grenade with full knowledge that it meant his almost certain death. When the debris from the explosion cleared, friendly forces recovered a severely wounded Private Rivera and discovered the bodies of 4 dead or dying enemy soldiers surrounding him. Private Rivera's extraordinary heroism and selflessness above and beyond the call of duty are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. I'm really glad I was able to share his story with you guys today because he really was an incredible soldier, a soldier of the highest degree, and if anybody's story deserves to be told, it's his. And of course, we have another friendly iguana here wandering about the cemetery. I hope you enjoy the rest of the videos, of part 1 of this amazing cemetery out here in Puerto Rico. Thank you.